Now, the National Review recently held its Ideas Summit last week. Now, the summit hosted a number of influential conservatives, one of them being House Speaker Paul Ryan. Now, Paul Ryan had an interesting exchange with National Review editor Rich Lowry about Trump Care's changes to Medicaid, which is actually Ryan Care. This is the Paul Ryan plan for health insurance. Now, let's take a look at that interaction, and we'll break it down.
You have been very clear for years, and we've seen compelling PowerPoint presentations about how the entitlements and entitlements growing out of control is driving the country into a ditch on the debt.
Yes.
And we have a president of the United States who basically seems pledged not to touch entitlements. Where does that leave us?
So it's the healthcare entitlements are the big drivers of our debt. There are three: Obamacare, Medicaid, and Medicare. 2 out of 3 are going through Congress right now. So Medicaid, sending it back to the states, capping its growth rate. We've been dreaming of this since I've been around, since you and I were drinking at a keg.
I was thinking about something else. He was thinking about reforming Medicaid.
I was. I've been thinking about this stuff for a long time. We are on the cusp of doing something that we've long believed in.
Yeah, we're on the cusp of fucking over poor people. Let's cut Medicaid and screw over people. And by the way, while he's saying it, he's like, hey, watch this keg stand, bro. This is awesome.
Yeah, Paul Ryan, if we gave Paul Ryan an ant farm and a magnifying glass, we would never see him again. He is a truly sick individual that enjoys watching people suffer.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
No, I think it's safe to say it is. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything. This is a guy that has unapologetically went. I mean, there's a clip of him recently where he's saying we will destroy the healthcare system. He just, all the stuff that this administration is doing, he's watching it with a smile on his face, where he doesn't have to worry about anything because him and his family are taken care of. Right. This is a truly demented individual that does not care about people or their suffering. Because they are their blinders are that significant. So
right.
I'm done giving them any type of benefit of the doubt. Well, it sure does seem that way by the policy. No, it is that way. It is that way. He's a sick, heartless individual.
It is that way. Yeah, I know. I was being a bit facetious. So I do that from time to time. A little sarcasm. But anyway, now to give you in details of how disastrous this bill will be for poor and regular people. If I haven't hammered this enough, 73 million people are on Medicaid, right? They want to quote unquote reform Medicaid, which basically means cut it so that there will be less people on it. Paul Ryan's plan ends funding for the Medicaid expansion, allocates Medicaid funding to states based on the number of beneficiaries rather than the cost of covering them. The CBO, as a result of these changes, estimates that 14 million fewer Americans will be covered by the program in 2026, and that number could increase if work requirements and block grants go into play, which Congress is actually looking at this. Now, what's interesting about this is that there is so-called moderate Republicans, right, that are like, no, don't do it. Don't do this bill. It's terrible. You even have fucking Jan Brewer out there saying, whoa, guys. That's too much. We expanded Medicaid here in the state, and it was good for us, and so don't cut it. I mean, we like fucking over poor people just as much as you do, but at least here in Arizona, we try to use just a tiny bit of lube.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, this bill overall is too conservative for Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Wow. For the people on the ultra-right, it's not cruel enough.
Right.
And for anybody that's like even fairly to the right, they're like, wow, this is kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it'd be political suicide for them if it passed. So, I have a feeling that it might not move forward, but I didn't think they'd go after the Affordable Care Act as quick as they did. So
I believed it.
Yeah, I didn't think they
I know
would.
you had
I
some.
thought that
You had some reservations.
Trump's financial ties
Right.
to the Affordable Care Act. I thought he was going to just talk his way out of that one. I really did, and I was wrong.
No, I don't. I mean, this is your first, like, I've to think about it this way. Like, everybody's like, oh, Trump's a businessman, so he likes to wheel and deal and likes to argue with people, right? Well, okay, so I guess if you're in business, it makes a certain amount of sense to come at them with the most conservative offer that you can, right? Now, the Democrats don't play that. They end up going, instead of presenting the most progressive plan, they end up going straight to the middle or to the right and going, your plan seems okay. Let's make a tiny bit of tweak so that it's not quite as draconian, but it's still pretty draconian, and let's negotiate. Let's start a negotiation from there. No, that's not how you negotiate. That's how you end up with Obamacare. So, but anyway, you know, the whole point of talking about that is maybe this is Trump's plan of doing that, taking the most conservative plan, Ryan Care, and putting it forward. I don't know, in the hopes of doing some argument and negotiation.
It's possible.
That's being
I mean,
really generous.
he's even kind of hinted at that himself, that it's like, well, it's still in the beginning stages.
Right.
You know, he said that because he acknowledged he was screwing over the people that voted for him. He acknowledged it was going to take healthcare away from people. But then he's like, well, it's still in the beginning stages. It has to go. So, yeah, I mean, that's probably exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. So, and again, that makes sense. The Democrats don't know how to negotiate, or they don't, or essentially they're not really paid to negotiate. They're paid to capitulate, and that's sad. So
they're paid to roll over and play dead.
Right, capitulate. Exactly.
They're possums. They roll over and play dead at the sight of any threat. And by threat we mean potentially making the Republicans mad, or potentially doing something that your base wants you to do, or listening to half your base.
No, it's
the
much
only
simpler
time
than
they
that.
stand up to anyone is when they're standing up to Bernie and his supporters. The only sign of life in your hack dead party.
It's simpler than that, Ron. It's about the donors. You don't want to you don't want to piss off the donors, the giant insurance companies, and the people that are like, no, we don't want single payer health care, for example, because that's going to drive us out of business. We don't want that. We pay you to be a stooge. We pay you to be a lackey. And we're paying you to oppose any sort of thing that gets rid of our monopoly on health insurance. That's what this is all about.
And then we're paying you to lie and sugarcoat it.
Exactly.
And say that the people don't. We shouldn't assume that the people want this. We shouldn't assume that the people want living wages. We don't know that that's what these protests mean. Because we're staying in our ivory towers.
Right.
And then you see somebody that has an actual progressive message. You see Bernie Sanders going around the country doing these town halls.
And getting Trump supporters to clap at single payer, by the way.
Getting Trump supporters to clap at single payer, getting people in rural areas to know that he has their best interest at heart, not Mitch McConnell. He's changing hearts and minds. Meanwhile, let's spend hours and hours overhyping 2 pages of Donald Trump's tax returns that make him look good.
Yeah. Ooh, throwing some shade at Rachel Maddow. Nice.
Oh, that fall from grace has been remarkable. Epic. I never would have guessed that would have happened. She blamed the audience for it. Ridiculous. Did you hear that? She's blaming the audience. That's like when Rachel Maddow was a kid, she probably blamed her friends when her time machine turned out to just be Power Wheels. Well, you should have known I was just messing around.
Disaster. But let's go back to Paul Ryan. Now, Ron, do you remember in college the dreams that you had for the future? Did any of them involve fucking poor people?
Fucking poor people?
Or fucking poor people over? Out of their health care?
No.
Didn't?
I wanted single payer health care.
Well, I just remember some of my career dreams in college. I wanted to have a job where I made a lot of money and not doing a whole lot. And in that case, I should have ran for Congress. But I didn't. I grew up. I never thought like, hey, you know what would be great? Let's take healthcare away from people, from poor people, from vulnerable people. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But see, there's the thing about Paul Ryan's worldview, right? And the thing that we can't reconcile Like, I like to talk to other people. I like to get other perspectives, right? I can't agree with his perspective. His whole idea is that we as a country spending money on things like healthcare and safety nets so that people don't die or starve, that is fundamentally wrong in his worldview. Mm-hmm. While the rest of us, normal people who aren't sociopaths, we think, hey, you know what? We do want to take care of poor people. We're a rich country. We can afford it. How about we do something for them so that they don't starve in the street or starve and then die in the street? That would be nice. We could do that. But he does not.
Whenever Paul Ryan gets tired of masturbating to the Ayn Rand poster, he moves on to photos of women standing outside of a Planned Parenthood crying with an unfilled birth control prescription. That's where he goes next. Because he's a sick guy, Jeff.
I know.
Sick. He's a sick guy.
It's somebody that does not care.
Don't shoot the messenger.
It's somebody that doesn't care about basic humanity. And that's the problem here. Is what we have. His worldview is irreconcilable with regular people who actually have human empathy with others, and that's why the people that agree with him, that also take a look at his worldview, that's why you can't argue with them. That's why you can't come to a consensus, because there is no consensus. These people are fringe. They're ideologically batshit insane, and people that we just can't have a conversation with. And that's unfortunate, because these people are now in the levers of power. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.